Have you ever woken up from a dream so vivid, so real that it felt more like a visit than a memory? Have you ever caught a scent in your home that doesn't belong there, sweet like flowers or heavy like something burning, appearing from nowhere and disappearing just as mysteriously? Or maybe you felt an unexplained chill run down your spine, followed by an overwhelming sadness that seemed to come from somewhere beyond yourself. What if I told you these experiences aren't random? What if they're actually urgent messages from souls crying out for your help today? You're about to discover something that could change how you see the spiritual world forever. Something that most people dismiss as coincidence, but which one of the most powerful saints of our time revealed as profound spiritual truth. I'm talking about Padre Pio of Pietrelcina. The stigmatized priest who didn't just pray for the dead, he spoke with them. He received visits from souls in purgatory right in his own cell. Through his extraordinary spiritual gifts, he revealed exactly how to recognize when a soul in purgatory is reaching out to us. Because here's what many don't understand. Purgatory isn't just a concept or a metaphor. It's a real place where souls wait, suffer, and desperately need our prayers. And these souls in their anguish find ways to communicate with us, to let us know they need our help. But here's the crucial part that breaks my heart. Most of these cries for help go unnoticed. These precious souls remain trapped longer than necessary because we don't recognize their pleas. Padre Pio revealed 5 unmistakable signs that a soul in purgatory is trying to reach you. Signs that happen around us more often than we realize. When you learn to recognize them, you become a liberator of soul, a bridge between earth and heaven. If you believe in the power of Padre Pio's teachings, write in the comments, Padre Pio, help me hear their call. Your faith can be the key that unlocks a soul's freedom. In the next few minutes, I'm going to share these 5 life-changing revelations with you, but I need you to stay until the very end because the 5th sign is so powerful, so undeniable that it might be happening to you right now without you even knowing it. Are you ready to open your spiritual eyes? Let me tell you about a man who lived between 2 worlds. Padre Pio wasn't just any priest. For 50 years, he bore the wounds of Christ on his hands and feet. He could read souls like open books, predict future events, and most remarkably for our discussion today, he maintained constant communication with the souls in purgatory. This wasn't folklore or religious imagination. Fellow priests, doctors, and countless witnesses documented these supernatural encounters. Padre Pio would often pause during conversations, his eyes fixed on something invisible to others, and say, "Excuse me, there's a soul here asking for prayers." What made his understanding of purgatory so profound was that he experienced it directly. He didn't just believe in it, he witnessed it. Souls would appear to him regularly, some in great distress, others radiating gratitude after being freed through his intercession. He once told the spiritual director, the souls in purgatory are closer to us than we think. They can see us. They know our needs, and they're desperate for our help. But here's what sets Padre Pio apart from other mystics. He gave us practical tools. He didn't just describe these supernatural encounters. He equipped ordinary people like you and me to recognize when these souls are reaching out. He understood that God doesn't want this knowledge reserved for a few chosen saints. He wants all of us to be instruments of mercy. Through decades of these encounters, Padre Pio identified specific patterns, recurring signs that indicate when a soul in purgatory is trying to communicate. These aren't vague spiritual feelings. They're concrete, recognizable experiences that happen to regular people every single day. Before we dive into these 5 crucial signs, I want to share something special with you. Many have been asking how to deepen your understanding of Padre Pio's teachings. That's why we've created the Spiritual Secrets of Tate, Padre Pio ebook. This treasure contains his most profound prayers, reflections based on his teachings, and practical guidance to strengthen your spiritual life. You'll find the link pinned in our comment section. This isn't just another religious book. It's a spiritual roadmap that can transform your relationship with the divine and help you become more sensitive to these sacred communications. Now, let's explore these 5 signs that could change everything. The first sign happens in the most intimate space of our consciousness, where the boundary between this world and the next becomes beautifully thin. The first sign comes in our sleep, when our conscious mind steps aside and our souls become more receptive to spiritual communication. But these aren't ordinary dreams. They carry a weight and intensity that lingers long after we wake up. According to Padre Pio, when the soul of a deceased person appears to you in a dream and leaves your heart restless, don't dismiss it. That soul is asking for your help. He wasn't talking about pleasant memories or wishful thinking. These dreams have distinct characteristics that set them apart from our usual nighttime wanderings. First, the clarity is startling. Every detail feels sharp and purposeful. You might see a relative who passed away, but their appearance carries significance. Perhaps they look younger than when they died, or they're wearing clothes you've never seen them in. Their eyes might hold a sadness that pierces right through you, or they speak words that feel more like urgent whispers than conversation. What makes these dreams unmistakable is the emotional residue they leave behind. You wake up with a heaviness in your chest, a deep knowing that this wasn't just your mind processing memories. There's an urgency, almost like you've been entrusted with an important message you can't quite grasp, but can't ignore either. Sometimes the person in the dream doesn't speak at all. They simply look at you with an expression that communicates volumes. Other times, they might say something specific, pray for me, or I need your help, or they might mention a particular mass or prayer. Padre Pio emphasized that we should pay special attention to any specific requests made in these dreams. Here's what's particularly striking. These dreams often feature people you haven't thought about in years. Suddenly a distant relative, an old neighbor, or even someone you barely knew appears with such vividness that you can't shake their presence from your mind. The most telling characteristic, as Padre Pio explained, is what happens to your heart afterward. If you wake up feeling compelled to pray, feeling a deep compassion for that person, or sensing an unexplained urgency to offer a mass, that's the Holy Spirit confirming what your soul already knows. This was a genuine plea for help. But here's where many people miss the opportunity to help. They wake up, feel that stirring in their heart, and then dismiss it as just a dream. They get caught up in their daily routine and forget the profound encounter they just experienced. Padre Pio considered this one of the greatest tragedies in our spiritual life. A soul reaches across the veil between worlds, manages to touch our consciousness, and we brush it aside because it doesn't fit our understanding of how communication works. The second sign, however, doesn't require sleep at all. The second sign engages your physical senses in ways that defy natural explanation. Padre Pio discovered that souls in purgatory often make their presence known through mysterious sense and sudden physical sensations that appear without any earthly source. Let's start with something that might have happened to you already. Unexplained aromas. You're sitting in your living room when suddenly you smell roses even though there are no flowers anywhere near you. Or perhaps you catch the scent of a particular perfume, one that reminds you of someone who has passed away. These aren't faint impressions that make you wonder if you imagined them. They're distinct, unmistakable, and they seem to hang in the air just long enough for you to recognize their significance. As Padre Pio explains, sweet, pleasant fragrances often indicate gratitude from a soul that has been helped by your prayers. Sometimes they signal a visit from a saint or angel accompanying a soul in need, but he also warned about heavier odor or scents like burning or decay that appear suddenly and have no natural source. These, he revealed, can indicate a soul experiencing intense purification and crying out for immediate prayer. But sensory manifestations go beyond smell. Have you ever felt a sudden drop in temperature in just one area of a room or experienced an unexplained heaviness on your shoulders as if invisible hands were gently pressing down on you? Padre Pio described these sensations as a soul's way of making physical contact across the spiritual divide. He once told a fellow priest, when you feel that sudden cold that weight upon your spirit, don't be afraid. Stop what you're doing, make the sign of the cross, and offer a prayer. A soul has found a way to reach you. The most profound of these physical signs is what he called the weight of spiritual sorrow. It's a heaviness that settles in your chest or shoulders, not from any physical cause, but from absorbing some of the spiritual anguish of a soul in purgatory. This isn't depression or anxiety. It's a supernatural sharing of burden that calls you to intercession. What's remarkable is how these sensations often come at specific moments. You might be going about your normal routine when suddenly you're enveloped by an unexplained coolness and the scent of something you can't quite identify. Your heart might start racing not from fear, but from a deep recognition that something sacred is happening. Padre Pio's advice was always the same: respond immediately with prayer. Don't analyze, don't doubt, don't wait until later. That soul has expended tremendous spiritual energy to reach you in that moment. But the third sign goes even further. The third sign moves into territory that can unsettle even the strongest faith. Sounds that have no earthly explanation. And Padre Pio understood that souls in purgatory sometimes create audible phenomena to capture our attention when other methods haven't worked. These aren't the creaking of old houses or the settling of wooden beams. These are deliberate sounds that carry intention and purpose. Gentle knocking on walls, footsteps in empty hallways, doors that close softly by themselves, or most remarkably, whispered voices calling your name when no one else is around. Padre Pio experienced this personally throughout his religious life. Fellow friars often reported hearing footsteps in the corridors near his cell during the night, followed by muffled conversations, even though Padre Pio was alone. When asked about it, he would simply say, "The souls come to visit. They know I will listen." But here's the crucial distinction he emphasized. These sounds aren't meant to frighten. Fear comes from dark spirits, but souls in purgatory approach with gentleness even in their desperation. The sounds they create carry a quality of pleading rather than menace. It's the difference between someone pounding aggressively on your door and someone tapping softly, hoping you'll hear. The most common auditory sign is hearing your name called softly, often just as you're falling asleep or waking up. Padre Pio explained that these are the moments when our spiritual defenses are naturally lowered, making communication easier. You might hear a voice that sounds familiar, perhaps like a deceased family member calling out to you with gentle urgency. Sometimes these sounds repeat in patterns. 3 soft knocks on the wall, footsteps that stop right outside your bedroom door, a voice that whispers the same words multiple times. Padre Pio revealed that repetition indicates a soul trying desperately to break through our spiritual deafness. His response to these phenomena was always immediate prayer. He would stop whatever he was doing, bless himself, and begin praying for the souls in purgatory. He often said, when they find the courage to make themselves heard, we must find the courage to answer. What many people don't realize is that responding to these signs with prayer often brings immediate peace. The sounds stop not because the soul has given up, but because they've been heard and helped. But the fourth sign touches something even deeper. The fourth sign strikes at the very core of your being, reaching past your physical senses to touch your heart and soul directly. Padre Pio recognized that sometimes souls in purgatory communicate through sudden, unexplained emotional shifts that seem to come from nowhere but carry profound spiritual significance. Have you ever been going about your normal day when suddenly you're overwhelmed by a wave of sadness you can't explain? Not the kind of sadness that comes from your own circumstances, but a deeper melancholy that feels like it belongs to someone else. Your heart becomes heavy. Your spirit feels burdened and you find yourself thinking about eternal things, about souls, about the afterlife. Padre Pio called these moments touches of divine compassion. He explained that sometimes the Holy Spirit allows us to feel a fraction of what a soul in purgatory is experiencing, not to burden us, but to move us to action. It's as if that soul's anguish momentarily bleeds through into our consciousness, creating an urgent need to pray. But perhaps even more specific are the sudden memories that surface without warning. You're washing dishes or driving to work when suddenly you think about your grandmother who passed away 15 years ago. Not a gentle remembrance, but an intense, almost urgent recollection. You remember her face clearly. You hear her voice and you feel an inexplicable compulsion to pray for her soul. These aren't random mental wanderings. Padre Pio understood that souls in purgatory can sometimes influence our thoughts, bringing themselves to our remembrance precisely when they need our prayers most urgently. It's a way of saying, don't forget me. I need your help right now. Sometimes these spiritual impulses come with physical sensations, a sudden tightness in your chest accompanied by thoughts of someone who has died, an unexplained urge to light a candle or visit a cemetery, a compelling need to attend Mass and offer it for someone specific even though you hadn't planned to go. As Padre Pio emphasized, when God touches your heart with compassion for the dead, it's because someone desperately needs your prayers. Don't let that moment pass without responding. The beautiful truth is that acting on these impulses brings immediate peace. That heaviness lifts. That urgent sadness transforms into gentle hope because you've answered a soul's cry for help. But now we come to the fifth and most powerful sign. Now we reach the most powerful sign of all. the one that combines multiple manifestations into undeniable spiritual communication. Padre Pio called these divine orchestrations, moments when several signs appear together in ways that are impossible to dismiss as mere coincidence. These synchronized events create what he described as heaven's urgent telegrams. You might experience a vivid dream about someone who passed away, wake up to an unexplained fragrance in your room, and then receive an unexpected phone call from someone mentioning that very same person. Or you feel a sudden sadness accompanied by memories of a deceased friend, followed by finding an old photograph of them in a place you never left it. Let me share with you one of the most extraordinary accounts from Padre Pio's own life. It was a cold winter night in 1918. Padre Pio was praying alone in his cell when he heard 3 distinct knocks on his door. When he opened it, no one was there, but his cell filled with the scent of burning candles mixed with something he couldn't identify. As he returned to his prayers, the temperature in the room dropped noticeably, and he heard footsteps circling a small space. Then, in the corner near his crucifix, a figure began to materialize. It was a Franciscan brother. He recognized someone who had died 2 years earlier. The soul appeared wary, his robe seemed faded, and his eyes carried an indescribable sadness. He spoke softly, "Brother Pio, I have been waiting in purification because I neglected the communal prayers during my life. I was more concerned with my personal devotions than with supporting my brothers and theirs." The soul continued, "I have tried to reach other friars, but they don't see me. They don't hear me. You are my last hope. Will you offer Mass for my liberation?" Padre Pio immediately agreed, and the apparition smiled with such gratitude that the entire cell seemed to fill with gentle light. 3 days later, after Padre Pio had offered the requested Mass, the same soul appeared again, but this time he was radiant, his robes brilliant white, his face shining with indescribable joy. "Thank you, brother," he said. "I am free. I go now to the Father, and I will never cease praying for you." With those words, he disappeared in a burst of golden light that left Padre Pio overwhelmed with spiritual consolation. This account shows us how souls can use multiple signs, how persistent they can be, and most importantly, how grateful they become when we respond to their pleas. Now that you understand these 5 signs, the question becomes, what exactly should you do when you recognize them? Padre Pio provided clear, specific instructions for how to respond when souls in purgatory reach out to us. The first and most immediate response is prayer. The moment you recognize any of these signs, stop whatever you're doing and pray. He recommended starting with the basic prayers, 1 Our Father, 1 Hail Mary, and 1 Glory be specifically offered for the souls in purgatory. But he emphasized that the prayer should be immediate, not something you promise to do later. When a soul finds the strength to reach you, Padre Pio explained, they have used precious spiritual energy. Your immediate response honors their effort and provides instant relief to their suffering. But prayer is just the beginning. Padre Pio strongly advocated for having masses offered for these souls. He called the Mass the most powerful weapon we have for liberating souls from purgatory. If you can arrange to have a Mass said specifically for the souls in purgatory or for the particular person you believe is reaching out to you, this act of love can sometimes free a soul immediately. Acts of charity performed in the name of these souls also carry tremendous spiritual power. Give alms to the poor, donate to your church, help someone in need, but do it specifically in the name of the souls in purgatory. Padre Pio explained that these works of mercy create what he called spiritual currency that can be applied to reduce a soul's time of purification. Here's something beautiful that he revealed, offering your own sufferings for these souls. Whatever pain, discomfort, or inconvenience you experience during your day, you can offer it up for the relief of souls in purgatory. That headache, that difficult conversation, that frustrating delay in traffic, all of these can become powerful instruments of mercy when offered with love. The Rosary held special significance in Padre Pio's approach to helping souls in purgatory. He called it the chain that binds the devil and frees the souls. He recommended praying at least 1 decade of the Rosary daily specifically for the souls in purgatory, but emphasized that when you recognize one of the 5 signs, praying a full Rosary for that specific soul can work miracles. But here's what he promised would happen. When you consistently respond to these signs, the souls you help will become your greatest intercessors in heaven. No one is more grateful than a soul freed from purgatory through your prayers. Once in heaven, they never stop praying for you, protecting you, and interceding for your own salvation. Imagine, Padre Pio would say, having friends in heaven who owe their eternal joy to your kindness. They become your spiritual guardians, watching over you, guiding your steps, and preparing a place for you in paradise. Today, you've discovered something extraordinary. You now possess knowledge that most people will never understand. How to recognize when souls in purgatory are reaching out for your help. Through Padre Pio's profound spiritual wisdom, you've learned to see beyond the veil that separates this world from the next. Remember these 5 sacred sides. The vivid dreams that leave your heart restless, the mysterious fragrances and unexplained physical sensations, the gentle sounds that have no earthly source, the sudden spiritual impulses that fill you with compassion, and the divine orchestrations where multiple signs align to create undeniable spiritual communication. These aren't random occurrences or products of imagination. They are urgent messages from souls who desperately need your prayers, your masses, your acts of charity offered in their name. Every time you respond to these signs, you become an instrument of divine mercy, a bridge between earth and heaven. But here's the beautiful truth that should fill your heart with hope. When you help free a soul from purgatory, you gain an eternal friend in heaven. As Padre Pio so beautifully promised, no one is more grateful than a soul freed from purgatory through your prayers. In heaven, they will never cease interceding for you before the throne of God. Starting today, I challenge you to look at your life with new spiritual eyes. Pay attention to your dreams. Notice unexplained scents and sounds. Listen to the impulses of your heart. When you recognize these signs, don't hesitate. Stop, pray, offer a Mass, perform an act of charity. Let your life become a constant offering of mercy for those who can no longer help themselves. If this message has touched your heart and opened your spiritual understanding, write "Thank you, Padre Pio" in the comments below. Share this video with someone who needs to understand these sacred truths. Subscribe to our channel and ring that notification bell, because every video we create could be the key that unlocks a soul's freedom. Remember, the souls in purgatory are watching, hoping, praying that we will notice their gentle calls for help. Don't let their cries go unanswered. Be their voice, be their hope, be their liberation. May Padre Pio intercede for you. May the souls you help become your guardians. And may your heart always remain open to the sacred communications that surround us every day.